everyone, I hope you're having a great day. Welcome to today's video where we are going to talk about the man who ruined Halloween, also known as the Candyman, also known as Ronald Clark O'Brien. So today's story is a real one. It's true crime, so I just want to give a warning that the events in this story are true and did happen, and there's violence towards children in this, so if that's not something you want to hear, I completely understand, and you can go ahead and click away from the video. I have plenty of other things for you to watch. I just find this one very interesting. But if true crime is not your thing at all, I am not hurt for if you don't want to watch this. You're not going to hurt my feelings, I promise. One thing before we get started, I noticed that when I'm doing my makeup, I do it even when I'm not recording too. I do a lot of hair flips. So I am deciding between this or this to put on my head to get my hair out of my face. Let's see which one I prefer. This one's kind of snug around my ears, so it might be too small, but I could like let my ears out. I don't know, because I like to get in my hairline as best as I can, but it's pulling on my ears. Maybe I'll try and find one that's fine. That's fine. If it bugs me, I'll just put on the headband. So Ronald O'Brien Clark lived with his wife, Deneen, I think is how you say her name. I don't really know. Deneen? But he lives with his wife and their two children, Timothy and Elizabeth, in Deer Park, Texas, which is a suburb of Houston, Texas. He worked as an optician at the Texas State Optical. I don't know why that's so hard for me to say. It took me 3 times to figure out how to say that. He worked as an optician. He was also a deacon at his local church, and he also ran a local bus. So, you know, a real stand-up guy, as they all seem to be. So the events of today's story happened on October 31st, 1974, Halloween night. Ronald took his 2 children trick-or-treating, as well as the kids that live next door, and their parents were with them as well. And when they went trick-or-treating, they went to a different neighborhood than their own, which in hindsight isn't that strange. I mean, when I was a kid trick-or-treating, we would go to different neighborhoods, like the rich neighborhoods that gave out the full-size candy bars. So that was kind of the deal here. They went to another neighborhood. It wasn't far though. It wasn't like they went a long way, like out of the way or anything. It was a nearby neighborhood, but just not their own. And although that seems harmless to us, it was part of the plan. So that night, as they were trick-or-treating, at one point, the kids went to a house where the door wasn't opening. Like they would trick-or-treat and they weren't opening their door. So that meant they didn't have any candy. So the kids went ahead and ran to the next house. This is where things get a little weird for me. Maybe, I'm assuming, I guess, when the kids ran, the neighbor parent that was with them followed them to the next house. Because after the kids went to the next house, when they ran to the next house after the one they had just been to did not open their door, Ronald had magically appeared with 5 21-inch pixie sticks. I don't know if you know what pixie sticks are. I'll put a little picture here now. That's a pixie stick. It's like a long tube of just sugar, flavored sugar basically in it. So once Ronald got to them, he was like, "Hey, I got these pixie sticks. Here you go." And he gave 2 of them to the neighbor kids, 1 of them to Timothy, and another one to Elizabeth. And when he was questioned about it, like, where did you get these pixie sticks out of nowhere. I think he would have noticed when a house gave these out. And he said, oh, it was at the house that we just went to. They opened their door. You know, the one you didn't want to wait on? Like, making it seem like a joke, like joking about it. Like, you know, the one you didn't want to wait on because you were impatient. Yeah, they opened their door and they gave me 5 pixie sticks. Hey, y'all, I just have to jump in real quick. As I'm editing this video, I noticed I don't have footage in between what I just said and what I'm about to say. So I'm gonna fill you in that when he got the 5 pixie sticks and he told them that it was the house that they had just went to that didn't open their door, had opened their door, and yeah, all of that. So he gave 2 of them to his own children and then the other 2 to the neighbor kids that were with them. I feel like that's self-explanatory almost, but I don't know why I didn't mention that, or I can't find the footage because I feel like I mentioned that. But anyways, 4 of them were gone from giving 2 to his own kids and then 2 to the neighbor kids. Anyways, back to the video. Goodbye. Bye-bye. And the 5th one he gave to a kid when he went home that he recognized from church. Again, a real stand-up guy. So for this part of the story, it is what Ronald says went down. I'm calling him Ronald instead of O'Brien, his last name, because I want to take him down a notch by calling him Ronald, because only this kind of person would have a name Ronald. Sorry if your name is Ronald. I don't mean any disrespect to you. I'm just trying to belittle this man right now. But Ronald says before he even had a chance to tell his kids to pick 1 piece of candy before bed, so they're already at home by this point, pick 1 piece of candy before bed, he said that Timmy asked to have the pixie stick. That's the piece of candy that he wanted before he went to bed, which I don't know what kid wants a pixie stick as their candy of choice. I'm just not a pixie stick person. I'm sure there are people out there who are pixie stick devoters, but I don't know. I don't know of any kid that would want like a pixie stick over like some kind of chocolate candy. But Ronald says that Timmy asked for the pixie stick and he had some trouble opening it as well. So Ronald helped him open up his pixie stick. He also had trouble, Timmy also had trouble getting the candy out of the tube as well. So Ronald helped him with that also, which I think is disgusting for what's going to happen next. To help your own child ingest this, that's really gross. All of it's gross. Sorry, I'm having trouble blending this color out. It just doesn't want to blend. This is becoming like a true crime / makeup review here. But this color's not wanting to blend very well. Uh-oh. So I'm gonna try and blend this out and then I'm gonna move on. So real quick, not about the story, about the makeup. Look at that. It just doesn't want to blend. This darker color, and it's very patchy. I've used this palette before, I'll link it down below, but I've never used this dark color before. And it's supposed to be a purple. At least when you swatch it, it's purple. But once you have it on the lid, look at that. It's not blending at all. Oh my goodness. But it definitely is blue on the lids, like in camera and in person. That looks awful. That's disappointing. Well, learn something new. Don't use that color. Anyways, after Timmy ate the pixie stick, he complained about it having a weird taste. So Ronald, his dad, gave him some Kool-Aid to help wash it down and get rid of the bad taste. And within minutes, Timmy started saying that his stomach was hurting. So just another disclaimer, this is where it gets a little hard to hear about what happened to Timmy and what he went through. But mere minutes after Timmy says that his stomach was hurting, he ran to the bathroom and started vomiting and convulsing. Ronald then held Timmy and felt him go limp in his arms. And this happened within a matter of minutes. An ambulance was called and did arrive, but unfortunately, Timothy had died on the way to the hospital in the ambulance. So when Timmy's body was being examined, there was a smell of almonds coming from his mouth, which is an indicator of cyanide. So they decided to do a toxicology report on him to see if he had any traces of cyanide in his system. When the report came back, he was positive for cyanide poisoning, and they claimed that he had enough cyanide in his system to kill 2 men. Enough cyanide to kill 2 men. This is an 8-year-old boy. 2 men. After this, the police quickly went to go retrieve the other pixie sticks, the other 4 pixie sticks, and luckily no one else had consumed the other pixie sticks. There was a scare with one of the boys, the neighbor boys, when they found out about the pixie sticks. The mom immediately ran upstairs to check on her son to see if he ate the pixie stick, and he was laying in bed unconscious with it in his hand, but he was just asleep. He said he couldn't get it open, so he just gave up and he fell asleep, which is really, really nice and wholesome to like a nice little happy thing that happened. But that did give his mother quite a scare, as it would. Okay, I'm gonna change to the headband because this is kind of hurting my ears a little bit. It makes my head look so weird though, like there's no volume. What the heck? So notice that I talked about that kid also having a hard time opening the pixie stick like Timmy did. When the pixie stick was examined, they noticed that it was closed with staples. Staples, just like it's like a normal stapler, and it had also been cut 2 inches down. So someone had opened the original packaging, cut, put in the cyanide, and then staple it shut. Also, the other pixie sticks had enough cyanide in them to kill about 3 or 4 men. So this person went very heavy-handed on the cyanide. I don't know why I'm saying this person like we don't know who it is. We all know it's Ronald. We all know that he's the one that put the cyanide in the pixie sticks. Initially, the police did not suspect Ronald at all, and they asked him to retrace his steps that night and to take the police to the house where he said he got the pixie sticks from, because he explained to them what the situation was, that they were at a house, and when the kids knocked, no one answered, but once the kids went to the next house, someone answered and handed him the pixie sticks. So the police asked him, okay, can you go ahead and take us back to that house? And he at first said no, because he couldn't remember which house it was. So then the police had the neighbor help them, since the neighbor was also with them that night, find the house, and the neighbor took him to the street that the house was on. So after going around that street 3 times, Ronald finally took them to the house that it was at. The house that he claims where he got the candy from. And he only remembered this after they had questioned all the other houses on that street, and all the other houses said that they did not give out pixie sticks. And Ronald was like, oh, Oh, that house. Yes, I remember that. I can take you to that house. Why didn't you say it with that? Yes, I can take you there. Ronald told them, once they got to the house, told them that when he got the pixie sticks from this person, that it was a man that gave them to him, but they didn't open the door all the way. They just opened some of it, stuck their hand out. There was 5 pixie sticks, and he took them. The police looked into the house to find who the owner was, and they found the owner's name to be Courtney Melvin, was an air traffic controller, and he had worked a late shift that night on Halloween and was not home at the time that Ronald and his children and the neighbor kids went by. Melvin says that he didn't come home until much after 11 p.m. And Melvin was cleared out after 200 people claimed that they saw him at work that day. So after this, the police naturally start to suspect Ronald at this point. The police started to look more into Ronald and his background, and they found that he was $100,000 in debt, which today's standards is $500,000 in debt. They also found out that he had a difficult time holding down a job and had 21 jobs in the last 10 years. When he was arrested, the police found out that he was actually about to be fired at his obstetrician job as well. His house was going to be foreclosed, his car was going to be repossessed, and he had defaulted on several bank loans. Also, with the police's investigation into Ronald, they found out that a few months before Timmy's death, that he had taken out life insurance policies on both of his children. Each policy was $10,000, which equals to over $54,000 today. 1 month before Timmy's death, Ronald took out an additional $20,000 on the life insurance. And then, get this, the police saw that the morning after Timmy's death, Ronald called the insurance company and was like, yeah, hey, so my son just died. When can I get that money? Like, I kind of need it now. Like, oh, yeah, but like, can I have that soon? Like, when are we talking today, maybe? And I know that some of you, or a lot of you, might be wondering, what about the wife, Deneen? And she claims to not have known about any of this. And I, for one, I believe her. I don't know why she would think that he would do this, or why she would just look into if there were life insurance policies out on their children. So I believe, sorry about the clicking, but I believe that she didn't know that this was going on. The police suspected also that he gave out pixie sticks to other kids so that he wouldn't be considered a suspect. When Ronald was being questioned, he just kept denying that he did any of this, as a lot of them do. Ronald was arrested November 5th, 1974 for the murder of Timothy O'Brien. He was charged with 1 count of capital murder and 4 counts of attempted murder. Ronald's trial started in Houston on November 5th, 1975. Sorry, May 5th, 1975. A chemist that Ronald knew testified and said that in 1973, Ronald started asking him about certain drugs like cyanide and asking him how much it would take to kill someone. And even people at his work or at social gatherings said that he talked a lot about cyanide. Like, he was very, very interested in it. Also, another disgusting moment, Ronald's sister and brother-in-law recall that on the day of Timmy's funeral, Ronald was talking about what he's gonna spend the money on, the life insurance money on. He was talking about vacations and various other items, a boat, maybe. So in court, O'Brien's wife, Deneen, had said that Ronald actually forced Timmy to pick the pixie stick. Remember before I said Ronald claims that Timmy wanted that himself, but the wife says no. Ronald told him this is the one that you're gonna eat. You're gonna eat this before you go to bed. On June 3rd, 1975, it took 45 minutes for a jury to find Ronald O'Brien guilty of murder and guilty of 4 counts of attempted murder. So with the guilty verdict, he was sentenced to death. It said while he was in prison, he wasn't very popular. The inmates didn't care for him too much. Word really gets around. There was even a petition going around the prison to hold an organized demonstration during his execution, but that did not happen. So it took Ronald quite a long time before he was executed. His execution date changed 4 times, and this was making a lot of people very irritated. One of the judges even said that he would take Ronald to the execution chamber himself. On March 31st, 1984, is when Ronald Clark O'Brien was executed by lethal injection. I'm going to read to you what his last meal was, but I'm going to look at the screen to do it because it's quite a menu that he requested. Ronald's last meal was a T-bone steak, medium to well done, because of course he would get his steak well done. Who gets their steak? Don't do that. Of course you're a criminal. Well done. French fries and ketchup. Whole kernel corn, which is just canned corn. I don't know why that made me so confused. I had to Google what is whole kernel corn, and it's just canned corn. Sweet peas, lettuce and tomato salad with egg and French dressing, an iced tea, sweetener, saltines, a Boston cream pie, and some dinner rolls. During his execution, there were 300 people outside the prison. Some of them were yelling trick or treat, while others were in protest of him being executed and throwing candy at the people who were saying trick or treat, which is very interesting. I don't know what that would have really looked like to be there. That would be very, I don't know, that's just kind of weird to me. I'm gonna go ahead and finish the final touches on my lip, and then we will get back with our final thoughts. This is our final look. I am not crazy about it. It's not really what I envisioned, but here we are, and we're working with it. But that is also today's story about Ronald Clark O'Brien, the man who ruined Halloween, the Candyman, horrible person, whatever you want to call him. I personally, I don't agree with the death penalty. I don't believe anyone has the right to take away someone else's life, whether that be another person or the government. I'd rather them just stay in prison, and yeah, I'd rather them just stay in prison before I start to really get angry. I just feel like an execution is an easy way out for people. One thing is, it's not like it never happened. People would check their kids' candy, but he is the reason why it's known so far wide that you always check your candy on Halloween night, is because of this man that we talked about today. I understand that you're in a lot of financial turmoil, but that's your baby. That's your baby. I don't think I could ever understand that how someone could just do that to their own child. But yes, please stay safe and check your candy. I always look for if wrappers look funny, if they look like they've been opened. I look for holes inside candy wrappers, all of it. Even if a candy is open, sometimes when you buy a bag of candy for Halloween, sometimes the packages, the little individual ones, can be open. I throw those out just so I don't freak out any parents that might get them. Anyways, that's the end of today's video. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you have a wonderful and safe Halloween. I hope you have a great rest of your day, evening, whatever you're doing. I hope you're having a good time. And I'll see you in the next one. Bye.